All right, we're live streaming, so I'm going to call us to order. Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Nope.
All looks good. Can I get someone to make a motion to adopt it? Please. Oh, it was a race. I think Jan won that one. Thanks, Jan. All in favor? And did everyone get a chance to review the minutes that Nicole sent out as well? Everyone was happy with them? Any changes? Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes? Awesome. Thanks, Cindy. All in favor? Unanimously passed. That's going to be the new motion for the task force. So instead of just a regular hand, we've got it. Well, you know, yeah. So in going into our old business, I did put goals and priorities at the top because Julie was going to be here to be able to support us in that discussion. But I think what we'll do maybe is just skip past that one for now. And then when she joins us, if it's okay with everyone, we'll just loop back. Does that sound good? So public engagement survey is next on our list. We have been compiling data like crazy and are preparing a presentation to bring forward to council on Monday with the data. And would people like to see that? It's all 551 responses in a beautiful, beautiful document that's been prepared by Nicole. Can you bring it up, hun?
So that was a rhetorical question. Of course we want to see it.
I knew you did. I just knew that that was what people were going to say. So we've compiled all the results here. Did a little blurb just on our task force. We put in a group photo of us on Zoom because that's the best team picture that we could take. We thought even if we did get in person one day, we'll all be so socially distanced we won't fit in a lens. So we did one of our meetings and took a snapshot there. And just information, survey was open June 12th to June 29th, so 2.5 week period. And we did end up with 552 people. We had one survey sneak in just last minute, so. In terms of demographics, we ended up getting a fairly good sampling. The one group that we didn't receive was our 18 and under population. We just didn't reach a lot of youth with this. And in terms of gender, like the majority of surveys, 76% were female respondents. So we typically get a larger female sample, and we saw that even in the surveys across the province that were done. For whatever reason, women tend to do more surveys than our male counterparts. Majority of people were Tanaquacan residents with 89%, 9% were Western Rocky View County. We did have 2 surveys come in from the MD of Bighorn, but the percentage wasn't large enough to even register within the statistics. Again, majority were heterosexual and Canadian citizens, with only a small percentage that identified either as lesbian, bisexual, or other. And same with our citizenship and immigration status. So majority were Canadian citizen, with just 7% identifying as either being a temporary foreign worker, permanent resident, or other. 42% had 3 people or more in their home, but this was the breakdown of the percentages of the number of people living within the households. Oh, that's good. We'll just fly through these quick. Children in the house. So you can see the percentages. A high population didn't have children in the house either. So we were only sitting at just under 50%, I believe, had children in the household with our respondents. And a high number of people had 66% had someone over the age of 65 living in their household, whether it was a household of just seniors or a family that had a senior living amongst them as well. This I found really interesting. When you look at income, we actually did a really great job of hitting some of our lower income households. So you can see our highest was 40 to 60%. But we had a good number of people that were between that 20 to 40%, or 20 to 40,000 as well. And the pie chart just shows that we had a pretty good cross section of incomes within the demographics that responded to the survey. Feel free to jump in and stop me as well, because I'm just flying through this really quickly. We did ask how people like to receive their information about program services and events, and you can see it's kind of a cross smattering of different ways that people want to receive their information, and just kind of lets us know that we are kind of doing the right thing when we always do the cross communication through different mediums. So again, this isn't different from any of the other results that we looked at prior, but majority of people responding rated their mental health prior as being good or very good, with only 3% rating it as poor and 9% as fair. So prior to COVID, people were reporting their mental health as pretty solid. This was an interesting slide as well. It shows how concerned people were. We did include this one just to show that a high number of people were concerned across the board. The purple bar at the end is people that aren't concerned at all. And in most cases, that was quite low. Most people had a degree of concern across the board about most of these things. And this slide just shows that again as well, that most people had some level of concern. Some of the things that we flagged were 69% of respondents were concerned about family stress from confinement. 35 respondents were concerned about increase in disagreements and conflict, and 3% were concerned about violence in their homes. The system that we were using to analyze all of our qualitative data actually spit out some wordles. So we put in all of those pages and pages and pages of data that we received into this system, and it pulled out the words that were most commonly identified throughout. So you can see people are concerned about family, economy, jobs, their children, others, mental health and people, schools, and masks came out a whole lot. So just kind of backs up everything that we've been talking about over the past few weeks. Have you experienced any of the following? So feeling helpless about the situation, 18%. 15% expressed that they've lost interest and pleasure in daily activities. 18% identified that they've had a change in the quality or duration of their sleep. 15% identified that they were feeling more irritable or having moments of anger that they didn't have previously. Great anxiety was identified by 15%. 6% of respondents said they're using alcohol and drugs more frequently. And only 11% didn't identify with anything. And going back to our qualitative data, We pulled out things like intense sadness, lonely, missing family, hopelessness, concern over grandkids. So COVID did have a pretty significant effect on the people that responded. This question was really interesting as well. So the green is no impact at all, and the red and blue was greatly impacted and moderately impacted. So most of our population was impacted by some degree. News appearing in the media was huge. 87% responded that news, social media had a negative impact on their state of mind. Which goes back to a lot of what we've talked about, positive messaging, getting that word out, giving people something to look forward to. This was really positive as well. Most of our residents that responded, 41% said they have a somewhat strong, and 22% said they have a very strong sense of belonging to the community. We do have a smaller percentage, 6% wasn't sure. 9% was very weak, and 22% was somewhat weak. So we do need to look at ways to strengthen people's sense of belonging, get people back into the community. Top 3 networks of support were friends, number 1, family, and faith groups came in at number 3. Respondents also, we thought it was interesting, but a number of people identified their pets as being a top network of support, and neighbors was something we actually missed in the survey, having that as a category, but a lot of people identified their neighbors as being a sense of support for them as well. Only 1% said that they didn't have access to technology out of these 552 respondents, which was really positive. When we asked about mental health support, 82% said, yes, I have the support that I need. 18% do not. And when we asked, are they aware of the supports in the community, 71% said, yes, I am aware of the existing resources, and 29% aren't. So I think this goes back to our goal to have a coordinated communication campaign and getting the word out and letting people know what exists. Most people are happy and excited about the future of our social well-being, which is really great. Only 1% identified as being angry, 5% sad, and 33% were neutral as well. And some of the comments that you can see on the side were really great. We heard lots about resiliency. Cochrane is resilient, our people are resilient. This comment we pulled out as well, that everyone is waiting patiently for things to start up again. Slow pitch, curling, rodeo, Canada Day celebrations are all things that our family looks forward to doing for exercise and socialization. It's difficult to hang in there, but understand the importance of being safe during the pandemic. And I think that speaks volumes to where a lot of people are at. They understand why we're doing what we're doing. I think a lot of people are grateful for the response that Cochrane had. But they are eager to get back into things. In terms of anyone in their household lost their job, 33% of respondents have either lost their job or somebody in their household has. So pretty significant impacts during COVID. This one was interesting as well. So 58% said that it's kind of been the same, that things haven't significantly changed as a result of COVID. But we also have 32% that are saying it has been somewhat difficult or much more difficult as well. And also a small percentage that have said that as a result of COVID, things have actually become a little bit better for them too. This too, so we asked the question, if it doesn't change for the next few months, what's going to happen to your financial situation? Because we wanted to catch that moment in time, but also be a little bit more forward thinking as well, so we could anticipate some of the needs. 15% said that if things didn't change, things would become significantly worse financially. 26% said somewhat worse. And 47% said there won't be any change as well. 2% said things would get better, and 10% just weren't sure. Food. This question is the one that we've always come back to and kind of puzzled about, but will food run out was the question, and very unlikely was 54%, and unlikely was another 29%. So only 2% of the respondents said very likely that I will have trouble providing food for myself and my family, and 3% were likely, and 11% were just kind of sitting in that gray area. In terms of housing, most people that we surveyed owned their own home, 86%, 11% were renting, 2% were staying with friends, and only 6% of respondents said that they may need to move in the next 6 months because they can no longer afford their home. A high number, 55% of respondents applied for some sort of financial relief. 45% said that they did not need any financial relief services at all. And when we asked, thinking ahead, what is your financial outlook? 27% no concern, 22 slightly concerned, 21 somewhat, 17 moderately, and 10% are very concerned. And then we had a small population that just wasn't sure as well. Overall, 71% were concerned to some degree about their financial stability. We pulled the quote that you can see along the side that we thought was relevant to a lot of different people. We had somebody comment that said, my husband is in construction, and though he has managed to stay working, we're concerned that people's financial situations will change in the coming months and his work will be impacted. So it's the ripple effect, right, that we're going to end up seeing. Being self-employed, he will not be eligible for EI, and worry that government assistance programs are going to be over. Would you visit a business or organization that's not considered essential if they have good measures in place? 41% very comfortable, 37% somewhat comfortable, and a smaller percentage, only 15%, said they would be either very or somewhat uncomfortable to go back to a business that wasn't essential. And they outlined what they need in order to go back. We have forwarded all this information on to the Economic Recovery Task Force as well, so they can review it. But basically, it's making sure that those safety precautions are all in place and that organizations have proper protocol and things in place so people know that they're safe walking in, which links directly to the Open and Safe campaign that's going on. So the Economic Task Force kind of has this covered through that campaign. We just pulled a few different things that kept coming up when we asked about what can we do to keep your spirits up, more community options to gather, and clearly define what we can and can't do. That's pretty much our goal. One of the goals that we set came directly from resident feedback. Mental health Zoom sessions for those with health issues, more awareness, media coverage, dialogue, and encouragement in Cochrane regarding care, respect, and the understanding for members of the community who are vulnerable health-wise and financially, working together for mutual support. Shop local and staycations are great for the area, economy, and mental health, and a sense of pride and ownership. That was a really neat comment. And community celebrations are needed, cul-de-sac parties. So a lot of what we've talked about, people mentioned in the survey. When we broke it down, what should the top priorities be for the task force? People said safety, mental health, and community. So when I looked at the goals that we've identified, they do fit into these three primary areas that were identified. What's changed for the better? Again, we came up with the Wordle that highlighted some of the main themes that came out. Lots was home, family time, quality time, neighbors, less traffic. So it all spoke to just a slower pace of life, taking time to do the things that you normally didn't do, and developing those relationships and strengthening the relationships with people in your home. And when we looked at what's changed for the worse for you since the pandemic, it was family. So missing family, missing people, jobs, isolation, mental health, fear, masks, social interaction, worry for elderly parents and elderly people in people's lives, missing friends, time, home, stress, worry about children, kids, family members, loneliness, and social isolation. So, and we pulled some of the comments that came up, but a lot of people were really thankful for the town to keeping trails, parks, things open while everything else was closed, helped us get through the long days. Lots of comments about being blessed to live in Cochrane and being grateful to live within our community. I love this one, needing to move away from negative media and focus on health and safety. And finally, this last comment was really nice. We moved to Cochrane to retire. It's an amazing community. We'll get through this, and the ideas folks have come up with to keep us going has been inspiring and uplifting. Thank you to all the frontline working who smile and carry on, but also to the people willing to use social media to reach out, i.e. Zoom yoga. So people have appreciated the different ways that the communities responded, whether it be virtually, but putting time and energy into keeping people connected, even in this weird virtual way. And that's it. Any comments that people want to make about the results, the presentation in entirety? Susan.
The presentation is really well done. I like the way you put it together, and it's very clear and easy to follow. I had looked at your meeting from last week and wondered if you needed to hire a data analyst to help you work through some of this stuff, but it seems like you're doing a pretty good job. Have you thought about hiring someone?
We did talk about it about 2 weeks ago. We were kicking ourselves for not doing that as an initial first step. I think when we put out the survey, I don't think any of us realized how much qualitative data we'd get back. The quantitative data is easy. You answer yes or no, and it puts it into this really cool graph, and you get percentages. And Nicole, you might be able to comment better, but I think it was over 100 pages of qualitative data. People wanted to talk. People wanted to share. I think they used this survey to heal too, and to work through some of the emotions that they were having. So we ended up with pages. Terry and Nicole deserve some huge kudos. You're actually looking at the data analysts for the task force right now. Terry reached out and she has a contact with an engineer who has a data analyst background, and he walked her through a number of questions to identify themes and how it works. And then he did some training with Nicole, and these two sat for hours pumping this information through this system and getting all the information that you see.
Well done.
So yeah, lots of time went into it. We wanted to make sure that when we were reviewing the data that we didn't miss anything, and we captured what everybody was saying. So they've done an amazing, thorough job.
Very well done. The messaging around people getting together in their cul-de-sacs and having smaller parties, are you going to expand on that in your presentation to council just to get it out?
Yeah, I'll actually go through our goals, the primary goals that we set, and be able to talk more about some of our hopes and dreams and what that looks like.
Thank you.
Any other comments, surprises?
I just want to say thank you to Nicole and Terry for doing that, for putting in that extra work and time. Really appreciate it.
No problem. It's been fun analyzing the data and trying to figure things out. Been interesting. Hey, Tara.
It gave me a huge appreciation for what happens in the complexities of data and capturing data and the importance behind the story and statistics and communications. It's not an area that I've traveled down, but let me tell you, it's a deep rabbit hole. But definitely I could see the value of it, like to your point, Susan, that a data analyst you could use it across the board, like in terms of Survey Monkeys coming in, you could find your themes and anticipate that's what I liked about it. You could anticipate things that you maybe couldn't see because you can have biases in your own of what you're looking for. Because Nicole would say, see, there's people there, they're concerned about their kids because they're homeschooling. I'm going, well, that's not known to me, but see, this is the grandparents. Look what their concerns are. So by putting it through that whole, like cleaning the data and throwing it through, it really helps to balance up the discourse, and it becomes more diverse in thought and representative across the board.
Any other comments?
I think it looks great, Kim. It's you guys, kudos to your team, everybody involved. Very easy to follow. The highlights, I think that we're trying to come across with, like the general themes, are very well, established and easy to grab. And I think you did a good job practicing today, giving the presentation to us. I think if we need to stop on a few of those. There was a couple of those graphs that I think they're really impactful, that we need to spend some time when we present to council and really drill in on those. But I think you did a great job. Thank you.
Susan.
Just one more comment about the food. So 5% of the people are worried about in the future that they're going to run out of food. So when you think of our community and how big it is, Jan, would you be concerned that 5% is pretty high?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's any different than what we have been seeing all the time. What do you think, Terry? You have a good handle on that as well, I would think.
Yeah, it's the pattern seems to be about the same.
And the food bank is well stocked and able to take care of anything like that.
Yes, the Cochrane Community Food Bank is certainly well supported, more so by the community than some of the other areas around Cochrane and Calgary. So we're a good community and we're grateful. We're grateful to the Activettes.
Great, thank you, everybody. So yeah, we will fine tune the presentation. We were actually meeting just at 12:30 to get it all added in and out. So,
I think
Cindy
Cindy
had
has
a comment.
oh, sorry, Cindy.
You have to wave like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that we're really prepared for the food and whatnot. And thank you ladies for the huge amount of effort put into this. I can't even imagine, the hours over the data. I'm very much more a tactile worker, so I can't even imagine. Many, many thanks for all your hard work. A couple of things, I love the presentation and the way the data is laid out. I was, in looking at a lot, there was a high percentage of people that tapped into getting benefits. And then now going into the future, a high percentage of people worried about money in the future. So right now, like in the present, we're okay. But then 2 months from now with the fallout. So right now, the 5% is not a big deal, or the violence in the home is maybe not coming to light, but maybe in a month or two, this will be blown right out of the water. So that was my concern, that we are an amazing community and we have the implements in place at this moment. My concern is 2 months down the road when all the SUR payments are gone, and then what are we looking at, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked a lot about some of those ripple effects too. So specifically around construction and those things, a lot of people are still working right now, but we don't know how long that's going to happen. They have jobs for right now, but the new bids aren't coming in. So we're going to see a shift as well. Yeah, great comment. Anything else? All right. Well, I see Julie has joined us. Hi, Julie. Julie is with our Town of Cochrane Communications Department, and we asked her to come today and listen to some of our goals and priorities that we've established as a task force, and provide us with some of her knowledge and expertise, and potentially, hopefully, some support to get us up and rolling. So I apologize, Julie. We jumped right into survey results and I didn't see you.
Oh, no, and that's fine. I apologize for being a little late. Something was tying me up, but I actually had a look at the report yesterday because I am working with the seniors messaging group on like the one that was struck for COVID. And I wanted to pull some data from that for the strategy that I'm working through right now, which I'll be forwarding to you, Kim, by the end of this week, so that you have that in case there's any questions as you go into your presentation to council. But because I do see some tie-ins to the communication out to seniors, as well as an overarching piece that would be around social support messaging related to the task force as well. So they're separate, but they're tied together really closely. So I did have an opportunity to look through that data yesterday. So I hope I didn't let any cats out of the bag by doing that, but yeah, so it was very interesting. And having worked with the Economic Recovery Task Force on their strategy and campaign as well, I would guess that would be the next logical step from this, now that you have the survey results, and starting to develop with that communications and maybe some campaigns around the services and supports that are available to reach that audience that feel like they don't have that support or know where to find it. So am I on the right track by saying that we would take that next step?
We're absolutely on the right track. So our task force, we've been reviewing the data every kind of since it's come out to take a look at themes and see, you know, which direction do we need to go. We have 4 goals that we've come up with. One is exactly what you said. So the first one is developing a coordinated communication campaign to increase awareness of what's out there. Across the board, not just town services, but what's available within the community to support our residents. The second one is advocacy to encourage community groups and residents to create innovative opportunities to connect safely. So we heard that people were lonely, that mental health was a problem. People were missing that human connection. So one of the goals of our task force is to share how people can get together face to face safely, right? And encourage people to do so and to look for those innovative ways to bring our community back together again. That makes sense?
Yeah, definitely.
And then our third one is it's really important to our task force to let people know that we heard them. So how do we disseminate these results back to the community, letting them know, hey, we heard what you said and we're responding. So kind of making sure people, because you know, when you do surveys, you never really know where your information goes or what gets done with it. So it's important for us that they know that we heard and that we're doing things to address the issues that came up. One of our task force members, Lauren with Victim Services, she's not with us today, but she brought up an idea of maybe doing a speaker series of taking some of the main themes that were identified and doing like a virtual education series for residents on mental health, or, you know, like all the different areas that maybe came up. And then our last goal is to provide an information session for nonprofit organizations as well to share the survey results, talk about funding opportunities that are available for organizations, and just give people a chance to come together and collaborate.
Okay. The one piece, I like the idea of thinking outside the box as far as the public engagement results. One of the things that we make a standard practice whenever we put something up on the Let's Talk platform is to do what we heard report. And I know that this presentation's pretty close to being ready for that, but we would post it there as closing the loop as well. So here's results of the survey, here's what we heard, and then the next steps that we're taking to address and recognize the people that responded. So that is one thing that we typically do with any public engagement in the town. So I would suggest that, but definitely taking it one step further and creating opportunities for more in-depth discussions about how the survey results were and what we're doing as a response to that as an organization. So we can definitely work through that part.
Okay, and then what we heard report, Julie, that would be on the town website or the
It's on the Let's Talk platform, but whenever we post a what we heard report, we do a promotion around that to let people know that it's there and available. A good example, and I did share this with Nicole as she was working through some of this compiling of information, is the land use bylaw, because they've gone out several times to the community for different stages of their engagement, and then after each they've done a what we heard report. So depending what topic it was or what event they had, they've posted several of them on that page. But it is just standard practice because we want to build that trust with the community, that when they do complete a survey, that it just doesn't go out into oblivion, that we actually do take that into account and let them know what the next steps are. So, but that's just one piece of it. Like you said, we're looking from the sounds of it as taking it one step further and doing some more one-on-one and broader discussions around this.
So yeah, when we came up with our goals, we thought pretty much all of our goals tie into communication in some shape or form, right? So we
Sorry,
see
Kim?
is
Sorry, I just wanted to talk about that for a second. So the communication, the first one, I thought it would be a little broader than that, not just about resources, but the messaging that we wanted to put out to the community, positive messages, and also the idea about the fiber cable, if it fits there, but a broader thing regarding communication.
for number one.
Yeah, the first one, it speaks specifically to telling about the resources that are available.
I think that was more, and we could definitely expand it. That one was more around, specifically around resources that did end up coming up by the group, was increasing people's knowledge and awareness of what supports exist for them. But we could expand it, Susan, definitely.
Yeah, if there's a place to add a little bit more just about all the positive messaging we wanted to do.
That was more around the advocacy. I think we had it more included in that second bullet of what you can do, what is permitted, how do you do it safely. That piece was more in our second bullet that we had.
Okay.
And in terms of fiber, we didn't have that one actually built directly in. Would you like to see that as how would we capture that, Susan? In terms
I was just thinking of a larger communication goal that includes short-term, long-term things. I don't really know how you'd word it, but what do others think?
And just for the record, we have invited Kevin to come to our next meeting. So July the 16th to talk about fiber. So everyone in the group, because we didn't have a very good understanding of it, Susan. So Jeff recommended that we invite Kevin to come do a little bit of an overview so our team all understands what that fiber actually means for people.
Thank you.
So are there any thoughts on Susan's comment about expanding it a little bit bigger for communication? Yeah.
Just instead of one comment, and it was in regards to what Mike was talking about last time. We were talking about maybe the signage around town with the positive messaging there. I mean, we have those big orange signs saying Public Health Act in effect, and it's not to, I think the Economic Recovery Task Force has done a good job outlining that it's safe and open and safe. It's not one or the other. We're still under some of those guidelines, so we can't just abandon everything and it's a free for all. So we have to remain safe. But maybe there's an opportunity to utilize some of that signage as we go. And, we're talking about the same thing we talked about last week, but have a campaign maybe in conjunction with the Economic Recovery Task Force that kind of piggybacks on their open and safe campaign that is that positive messaging that we're talking about. And I don't know where else we could do it, but I think those, maybe Julie, you would know, the orange signs are, I think, at the entrance to most communities. There's 5 or 6 of them around, that maybe we have something uplifting, but still following that safe, message. And Mike had one thing that's really stuck with me that I really liked was the suggestions of what people can do. I think something that's been recurring is people asking for, what can we do? And I think they're hesitating to, to go and be active or to do things or to frequent businesses because they're just not sure of what they're allowed to do. So I liked his one off the cuff suggestion about looking for a place to physically distant together with your family, try the Frisbee golf course, or I don't even know if it's open, but I mean that type of thing, right? And I think, is that, Susan, what you're talking about, like that broader outreach?
Yes, I think we've been good at throwing some of those ideas around. I just don't feel like it was captured in the message. Oh, I had another thought, but it just left my head. Oh, I know. I was going to ask you, how do the ES committee report their findings each week or their rulings to the community? I just find that we're not getting the updates and we don't really know what's going on any more than anybody else. Is there a way that we could get those updates and share them as part of our communication?
Which updates are you referring to, Susan?
When they make decisions, are they still meeting weekly, the EES?
Oh, the ECC?
ECC, yeah.
Sorry.
No, they're not right now. No, they're only meeting sporadically and more for Town of Cochrane, like re-entry into facilities at this point.
Okay, I just thought there might be a way to increase the communication about what is allowed and what the changes are as they come.
We would be following the provincial guidelines, which are still changing pretty rapidly. But one of the things that we did talk about too was maybe taking some places and like the Cochrane Ranch and having a sign saying this is a great place to gather with 50 of your closest friends, social distancing, inviting people almost to get together and do things. Really, we talked about things like block parties and encouraging communities to start doing some of those things to build community, but actually, how do we do that safely, right?
I wrote that down from watching your meeting last week that Mike said invitation versus enforcement. I thought it was really great.
Mm-hmm.
Kim, is the intent here today, Kim, to just have Julie listen to the back and forth about all these things that we're doing and then go away and have some noodle time to come back with a maybe a strategy, an overarching strategy?
Yeah, I wanted to share like our goals and what we're thinking, see if she has any ideas and see what support their department can offer us. Yeah.
So similar to the Economic Development Task Force, the communications department wrote their strategy and developed the campaign and have been working with that team to, the business development team to execute it. And it did include timeline and tasks and tactics and all of that. I guess I have a few questions, but one, we did break down the task force into a smaller working group just for the communication piece, just to make it a little easier to manage so that there weren't too many people who were making decisions. So it was a group of 3 plus me who worked on that. So that might be something to consider just to take some of the pressure off. I know everybody here is volunteers, so, but then also just a smaller group to bounce ideas off and have discussions with, and making decisions on behalf of the larger group is helpful. So that being number one. And then the other questions that will help me as I develop the strategy is knowing what the budget is, because that does play in a lot to the tactics and what we're doing for marketing and communication activities, because there is obviously a cost around that. and then what resources are available from the town and the different departments who we're looking at. And I don't mean necessarily external sources, because I know that is part of the outreach and collaboration piece, but internally, who would be helping execute the plan and who is available to give some of that actually feet on the ground piece too.
Okay. And those
Julie?
are things,
Oh,
Julie,
sorry.
that I can get back to you with, like in terms of like, sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
I should have put my hand up. I'm sorry. Julie, can you maybe give a brief outline of or maybe I can do it since I'm talking, but the Economic Recovery Task Force, the subcommittee that Julie's referring to was 2 committee members. I believe it was Tourism, Joanne, and Kelly from the chamber
That's
that
right.
helped Mike. So that was just a small group that we kind of formed this little subcommittee so that we were nimble and could get back and forth with communications and really help guide the process. That's what you're talking about.
That's right.
Susan.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just thinking about the money. We might not have the money now, but we don't want that to prevent us from getting some great ideas. So if we don't have it, then we can look for it maybe through a grant. So don't hold back, Julie.
I definitely won't. It's just a good starting point to have this is what we can do within our budget, and here are the out of the box ideas that would either go to council for I'm not really sure what it's called because it's not a spring budget adjustment, but finding money from reserves or whatever to make some of these things happen. Because a lot of this is laying the groundwork for a long-term strategy. This isn't new. Hearing that people are looking for information about supports and what's available to them, I'm sure that those are some of the themes that came up in the Cochrane Cares survey that we did a few years ago. This isn't new. And so while we're looking really short term to create a solution to help people feel more comfortable and feel like they have the support and they're being communicated with effectively through the COVID pandemic, and there is a little bit of a immediacy to that, we know that the things that we put in place now are or should be long term. And so anything that we do start, I'd hate to see it end December 31st, 2020, just for the sake of it being a really short-term solution.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been something we've been struggling, that whole communication, getting the knowledge and information to the community for as long as I've been here, which that's been a little while. Yeah. Jeff.
Maybe if I could make a suggestion that we base our budget on the same amount that the Economic Recovery Task Force did. I believe Mike covered that through his economic development budget. And I'm not suggesting that FCSS should be, covering this. I know you guys entered this in crises with the budget changes coming from the province. So I would never want to put another layer of burden on FCSS for that, but just as a starting point, and then we go back to administration and ask for a strategy to find that fund.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can take a look too and see where we're at budget wise as well. But no, that sounds like a really great plan.
Does that give Julie enough direction to start with a rough framework? Julie?
Yeah, I can definitely start with it. some of those things, like I said, the resourcing and the budgeting, like that can come, especially through discussions with the smaller group. It's not something we need to make a decision on right now, but they will definitely be conversations that will help refine the strategy. But I can definitely get started on something broad at this point and start to narrow it down through discussions.
So Julie, what I'm hearing is it would be beneficial for us to have 2 to 3 people on a subcommittee.
So with the economic development task force was it was Mike, 2 member, and as the leader of the task force, and 2 members of the task force, and that seemed like a really good number.
Is there anybody, I'm just going to put people on the spot right now so we don't lose this idea. Everyone turn off your cameras, avoid my eyes. Is anybody interested and willing to participate to help us with the communication strategy? Oh, Jeff put his hand up.
Scratching my head.
Jan.
I really don't have the.
I was just kidding. I just saw a small movement and was capitalizing on that. Jan, did you put up were you scratching or were you interested?
No, I'm trying not to scratch on camera. I think it would be really advantageous to see if Lauren wants to participate in that, since she seems to have lots of good ideas for that, but I don't mind being part of it either.
So I'm happy to reach out to Lauren for sure. And was that an expression of interest, Jan?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jan.
And then finally, I would just ask the group if I can get an idea of when you hope to start rolling out whatever the strategy or related campaigns are.
Probably not till tomorrow, Julie.
Oh, I have 24 hours?
Monday I could cancel.
I think we can sit and talk about timeline and see what's reasonable and what we can do. I think we do want to get things going as soon as possible, though, just because I think the sooner we can get messaging out, have people feeling safe and more confident and doing that connection piece, the better off our community is going to be. So I'd say we are looking at some immediacy, but we want to be thoughtful with what we're doing.
Okay, thanks for clarity on that.
That wasn't super clear, but
it's more than I usually get.
I really liked, Julie, what you said about, forming a strategy, having some short-term, medium-term, and long-term, communication goals. And I think if we obviously moved on the short-term ones quickly, we could build into the others. But I liked your approach of let's outline the entire, like where we're going and where we are, so that we have a plan to get there, and then we execute on the first one, and it's building the story to where we want to end. So I think Kim did a good job of summing that up, but I think we can kind of make it a work in progress. We just need what's the goal?
Okay, well, I have what I need to proceed. If we can just, Kim, if you can just get back to me on Lauren and let me know when we'd be able to schedule another meeting to start digging into this a little more.
Sounds good. I'll connect with you tomorrow, Julie. Thank you for taking time to join us and hear us and provide your support. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, I will sign off then.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
Julie.
afternoon, everybody.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, Jan, for stepping up to be part of that. And I will reach out to Lauren and see if she's also willing. I think it makes sense as well with Lauren because of her work with the app and some of the things that we've already kind of partnered with. So
That's what happens when you don't come to a meeting, you get volunteered.
it's true. It's true. That's why I'm at every single one, Jan.
All right, is there anything else on goals and priorities or the public engagement survey before we keep going through the agenda?
All right.
Kim, your mic went all wonky. I couldn't understand you. I don't know if others did, but
Oh,
now it's better.
okay. I just asked if there was anything else in terms of goals, priorities, or the public engagement survey before we keep moving on. Am I still wonky or you guys have nothing? It's good. Okay. So the rest are just kind of updates in terms of the organization engagement survey. We did get that sent out last week, and we are sending out reminders to everybody. So Nicole's doing the 2 days left, 1 day left, last chance to get your feedback in. We've heard from 13 groups already. So we're hoping, my goal is to, if we can get responses from 20 to 25 different organizations, I think we will have done an amazing job. That would have meant that we'd have about a 50% response rate. So that's our target. Cindy, I will get you to harass Big Hill Haven because we haven't heard from you guys yet. And Shara, I need to harass you personally as well to get Helping Hands information in as well. Activettes, you did her. So, but we want to make sure that we actually have our task force responding to the survey with our groups as well to make sure that we get our information in. FCSS hasn't done theirs either, so you guys don't have to feel bad. It's coming. So we will share that. That survey closes on Friday, and I'm hoping to get the results kind of compiled over the weekend so I can present those results to council as well when I present on Monday. So we have a good overview for council with both the public results as well as the organizational results. Grant opportunities is just an update as well. So we are working on gathering the information that we said that we would last week. So we've reached out to our IT department to have them do some costing for us. We don't have that back yet. Just waiting. Hopefully we'll hear back by next meeting. And then Cindy, just the cell phone information that you were going to get to me. And I did hear back from Victim Services. So I'm working through their stuff in terms of enhancing the app as well. And I think that's all kind of the updates there. Any questions, comments? All right. So on to new business. One of the things that I wanted to bring up with this group is summer meetings. And what we'd want to do we want to continue meeting weekly? What is that? What does that look like? I did want to give people notice that I am taking a couple weeks of holidays in June or in July. In June, that would have already passed. I'll be away July 20th to the 31st. So wanted to see what people think. Does somebody want to jump in and chair and take over my responsibilities for a couple weeks?
How are you feeling, Kim? Is there enough to keep going weekly, or should we do it every other week?
Well, what I'm wondering, I think next week we do have Kevin coming, and so I think next week makes sense for us to meet. We'll hopefully have all the grant information for us to discuss and move forward with a grant application. I think if you guys don't want to meet while I'm away, I think it would be okay, because if I can get a meeting in with Julie and we start talking about the communication strategy, she would be working on that over that time period, and we could come back beginning of August with a strategy and talk that through as a group. But you guys can still meet without me. I will not take offense to it.
We need you.
You would be fine, Susan.
I guess if I could weigh in, I don't think we need to meet if there's no need to meet, but we're also, I think we've all voiced concern about wanting to address needs in the community as soon as possible. So kind of on the fence, I could go either way. And I think it's great, Kim, that you're taking time. I think everybody's going to have that or should have that time. I see some people are in trailers right now in meetings. So that's not really a work-life balance thing, but I do appreciate that you're doing that. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to point you out, but maybe we could have maybe a less structured meeting and we just keep the conversations going at the very least.
For sure.
Could lob that out there. A hybrid.
Jan.
I agree. I think that if we leave it till you come back and it's August before we put any strategy together, and then it's another couple of weeks before anything gets out, you're kind of lost the summer already for any block parties or any of that kind of messaging.
Yeah,
I hate to see that happen.
So I think we can definitely continue them, like, and go weekly. And if people can't be here, no worries at all. I will be here next week to be able to lead the meeting, but I'm wondering if someone would like to step up for the following 2 meetings. It's super fun to chair. You would just work with Nicole, like set a loose agenda. It's good times, you guys, I promise you. Nobody even wants to scratch their face right now. It's like I'm looking at statues, you guys.
I could work with Nicole and help out.
Thanks, Susan. Jeff even turned off his camera for a moment.
We worked good together in the Tri-Site Committee, so we could make it, couldn't we, Nicole?
I think Susan's a great choice.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Susan. And some of the things that we will want to discuss, we can put it on our agenda for next week. But the speaker series, I think, is something that we need to start talking about if we want to get something underway. So when we're creating the report for what we heard through Let's Talk Cochrane, we can actually use that as some promotion as well for how we're responding and what we're doing. So if people want to spend this week giving some thought to that, I think that would be excellent to keep on the agenda and get rolling for August. Beautiful. In terms of quorum, Nicole, will that play a role at all? We won't be making big motions, I'm assuming, so we won't have to worry about that, right? Okay.
We will need for approving the agenda and stuff like that, but if we're just kind of meeting, not officially, I gotta find out if we can. I know
There's
No.
around stuff.
Yeah,
We could call
so
it.
we
Sorry.
may still need quorum.
We might be able to call it a communication committee or something different that's that's going to share information with the bigger task force and get away with it. And I'm not sure why we have to be taped and put online when there's minutes of every meeting. Do you guys know why we have to do that?
Yeah, because
Legislation.
it's through the MGA. So because we're a committee of council, actually it's yours and Jeff's fault, really, that that this has to happen.
It's the province.
But if we
Just
were
to be
meeting
fair.
and all in the same room, we don't tape it and put it online. We just put the minutes on. So What's the
But
difference?
people could come to the room and watch it. So that's the difference, is if you're holding a meeting, people can actually come to the meeting and sit. Whereas if we're in a private Zoom call, they actually can't observe what's happening. But on that note, FCSS did get approval to hold small meetings in person downstairs in our meeting room. So I know Jeff expressed desire to not be virtual. So that is an option if, I don't know if that makes things better or easier, or if you want to give it a try, but that's something we can discuss too.
Can we still incorporate the people that are in trailers on the screen, or would we have to go strictly with just the people in the room?
We could try it and see. I bet we could. It might not be super, like we could beam people in probably by a laptop.
I will still be in the trailer next Thursday, so that would be greatly appreciated.
You're in a trailer?
What are people's thoughts? Do you prefer virtual? Are you guys wanting to have some face-to-face interaction? Jen?
I have held a board meeting with the Activettes and also a general meeting outside in a parking lot. And people very much appreciated being able to talk one-on-one instead of in the virtual thing. We got much better communication. We made decisions much easier. I find it much more helpful to be in person. And my vote is to meet in person whenever possible.
Is that consent? All right. Do you want to meet in person next week? Yeah.
I have one comment. I might be heading back into my office and I work out of Calgary. So
Okay.
I might need to call in or be virtual. That would be my only issue.
But we could do that, right, Nicole? We will figure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Let's do it. We will send out the invite, just so people know in case there's any unease whatsoever. Our safety protocols here are pretty stringent. So when you come in, you have to sanitize your hands. Our meeting room is actually set up in a giant horseshoe shape where every person has their own 6-foot table that has been sanitized. We sanitize after people leave. So we are doing our very best to make sure that people are kept healthy and safe. Awesome. This is very exciting. So yeah, we'll give it a try, FCSS next Thursday, and we'll put that on the invite. And then we'll also send out a Zoom link as well for people that aren't able to actually come in person. We'll try it and we'll see how it works and if we can actually do it. But I would love to see your faces.
Totally. I think we can use the same Zoom link too, make it less confusing that way.
And then we don't actually have to record it.
Yeah.
Well, and I would say that this is something that an opportunity that we're going to be able to, have these hybrid meetings and accommodate people's schedules, whether you're in Calgary, whether you're in your trailer, or if you're have a health concern and you don't want to come in person, by all means, you can do either or. So I think that's going to be the new norm. Man, I was trying not to say that, but part of the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, that sounds really great. I would love to see people in person. And then roundtable is the last thing. Does anyone have anything that they want to share with the group? Jen.
Always me, right? I was really disappointed to hear that Light Up was canceled already. I was wondering if there's some way that we can encourage them maybe to consider a different format instead of canceling altogether. I think that's a really big thing at Christmas time. And it's so early to cancel it already, right? What does anybody, has anybody else had any feelings about that?
Go ahead, Jeff.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop saying, I don't want to talk so much, and then I'll just do it. I've been giving that a lot of thought too, Jan. It's disappointing, but I do understand why they made the decision they did. We're still stuck at 200 people in an outdoor gathering. It's, as a person who's been involved in trying to help organize our team to do even just the events that we have for openings, like the ribbon cutting we did for the crossing. You know, we're always second guessing, how can we get people, or is it going to be more? Are things going to change before we get there? And then that coupled with the sponsorship and then the food guidelines of handing food to people, it's completely changed their game. So, and I don't want to speak for their group, but I think they just felt like it was too much to try to change and morph and all that. The one thing I would say, and I agree with you, that we could send them a message to say, have you thought of everything? Like, could we do it maybe in an innovative way and still have some kind of something? The other is there something that we as a task force could recommend to council about doing in its place? Is it fireworks? Is it something, right?
Well, I just think that it's really early to be canceling it. And the reason they gave was the sponsorship part mostly. And we could do or suggest maybe a much more scaled down version instead of quite as grandiose. I know when I was first participating in it, it was not as elaborate as it got in the last few years. Maybe it just needs to be scaled back and not be quite as intense.
But I think the problem is the 200 people maximum you can have outside. We've had 15,000 people there. So it's like,
well, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know what it's going to be this year, whether it's still going to be 200 or not. We have no idea at this point. But maybe we can combine something, a virtual thing plus drive-through stuff, maybe. I don't know. There must be something that we can do to mark the start of Christmas.
mm-hmm.
I think that would be a really important thing to support.
I think that's the key right there. What else could we do?
The Stampede fed a lot of people on the weekend with their drive-through pancake breakfast. 25,000 or something. It was crazy.
Wow. Yeah,
I thought I'd miss pancakes, but I really do.
Well, the Stampede did some really innovative things with having the drive, like food trucks, and so.
I mean, that could be part of our recommendation to council, right? These groups are struggling, though they're generally volunteers. There's the other part of it that is budget. And while, you know, I know they really rely heavily on sponsorship, there is some grant funds from the town that have been allocated to Light Up in specifics that if they're not going to be used for that, maybe we can put them somewhere else and do something else. So it's a good conversation.
Yeah. Light Up is a sad one though, because that's such a huge event for our community.
It's been going so long as well, right? It's a long, and it's so much further away. Like I can understand having doubts about being able to have the rodeo, but it's another 2 months before the Light Up is even going to happen. So there should be maybe some different rules by then that we can do something different.
Yeah, it's hard to say. You keep hearing things about once we get a vaccine, right? Things are going to change and the numbers are going to increase. So it's hard to say whether there will be a big shift by the end of the year too. So much unknown. That's what makes this so hard, and we've never navigated something like this.
How do you plan when people are talking about a second wave coming? It's pretty hard to put your whole heart into planning.
Anybody else have anything for roundtable that they want to share? Nothing? Nothing exciting happening in any of your places?
I have a question.
Yeah.
And maybe I missed it, but did you give a little update on where we're at with the app? You know how excited I was with the app last week? It hasn't changed.
Lauren did get back to me with just pulling up her email. So she did connect with the company that she was you might be faster than me, Nicole. Oh, no, I got it. So she did connect with the company and talk to them about upgrades, setting up an easier to use domain, improvements to the homepage, grouping services within the app, formatting of all ages, pictures, updates, links, and staffing hours. So she's gone through, met with them and talked about the different dreams that she has and got some pricing, which actually came back as very, very reasonable. I think I'd actually bump up what the ask is, but we're probably looking at $5,000 or so in order to enhance the app. And I think it could be done fairly quickly.
Cool.
That answer your question, Jeff?
Yeah, thanks.
Cindy.
Hi, you asked me to look into the cell phone plan in moving forward with our phone drop for the Big Hill Haven. And I did come up with a few numbers. They're pretty rough. We're still in the midst of collecting some phones and waiting for the surge to come up. Now, again, these numbers are rough. And I feel that Bell Mobility or Rogers or TELUS would possibly step up a little more and subsidize it a bit. But just to show you, I did my homework. And where'd I put it?
Cindy, you can even email it to me as well.
Okay.
Compiling all the numbers and seeing where we land for the grant app. So you can just email me all your information if that's easier.
Okay, that might be a little easier than extending the meeting, but I did get on that, and then we'll be able to converse more on that later.
Awesome. Yeah. So either send me an email or give me a call, and we can work through it.
Perfect.
Awesome. Any final thoughts from anybody? Susan?
Just wanted to mention that the library is open. They're staging their opening, but there's a lot of construction going on that street and will be for the next couple of months. But they do allow people to get to where they need to get to. So if anybody asks, the library is open.
Awesome. We also, FCSS opened this week as well. So we opened our doors on Monday, and it's been fairly good, steady. In the first 2 days, we had over 50 people in person come in our doors. So it's and people are so excited that we're back up and running. So it's been really great.
I just have something to share with the group once we're done recording and streaming.
All right. Is there anything else that people want on the formal record? All right. So I'm going to close the meeting. Don't hang up at 2:28.